Hello everyone, welcome to Hindsight Rewrites. I know it's been a while, but we are back and better than ever with a new logo and ready to jump into some rewrites. For a quick recap, I usually go after B movies or lesser known movies for this series, and while that absolutely is still going to be probably the primary target, I'm going to dip my toe into going after some Hollywood blockbusters as well, because even with all their money and their influence and everything else, Hollywood, you could use a good rewrite now and then too. For our first movie back, we're going to be going back to that more B-movie or lesser known territory with Dracula Reborn from 2012. This film was co-distributed by Halcyon International Pictures and Still Night Monster Movies. Anyone who's watched my rewrites before, and specifically the Last Sect rewrite, knows that I have an affinity for vampire films, and I haven't really tackled them very much in here, so it's going to be really fun to go after a vampire movie. In the past, I've usually sent you to a YouTube review for the same movie that we're rewriting. However, moving forward, I'm just going to be leaving a link in the descriptions of the IMDb page for the films, and you can explore them or research them at your leisure. In the past, I've either shown you my favorite poster if the film has two primary posters, or I've done some kind of recreation of what I think a new cool poster can look like. Here I'm going to do a bit of both. I have a favorite, as you can see here, of the two primary posters for this film, and then I've also done like a little recreation of kind of the two of them put together. In the past, we've worked with the criteria for these rewrites, as you can see here on screen. Moving forward, we're going to be using mostly the same criteria, but I am going to be making a few changes. For the changes, we'll start with the two things I'm taking out altogether, which is the film and the audio quality. Those are important, but as far as us using screenshots and things like that nature, it doesn't really come into play that much. So we're just going to remove it from our criteria list. The next thing I'd like to touch on is that swap symbol down by the main story. We want to still keep the core story, and I mean that in the very most base sense of the word. Let's call it the bones of the story, whereas before I would maybe follow it a little more close to the original. I don't have any problem kind of swapping some more storylines now versus maybe in the past to give it more of what I would like it to be. The final two changes we want to touch on is the locations and the role level. Role level being just cast, like if you're a B player or a side character, you're going to say a side character, and so on and so on. Moving forward, I'm going to do something that we like to call actor swap, where I will swap actors in and out where I see that they're better fit, at least for my interpretation or rewrite of the story, and I will kind of compensate that. So if I'm taking a side character and I'm putting them in the main role, then I'll either decrease or remove another role altogether. Finally, that brings us to locations, and while I'm sticking to using the same locations that we see on screen, I'm going to kind of be a little liberal with what I like to call recycling the locations. So let's say somebody had, in this case, we'll get to it when we get to those scenes, but there's a house, and maybe we can use parts of the house that aren't seen on screen and recycle that to something else that we want to maybe create. And like I said, we'll get to that later in the rewrite here. Alright, with a lot of that explanations and things out of the way, let's get into our rewrite of Dracula Reborn. We open up from a black screen with text for our two production companies, Halcyon and Still Night, and then after they fade out, we go back into the black. Here we get our first appearance of Thumbs Down Guy. As in the original, we fade out of that black into this parking garage, and this woman entering the parking garage, she's going to be part of a role or a character swap, so we're not going to be opening the film with her. So from black, we open up to this car in the parking garage, and as you can see there, somebody's off screen is clicking the remote to try to get the car to unlock. Here I'm going to point out the first character swap of this rewrite, where we have this woman who was originally part of this opening scene in the parking garage being swapped out, and in her place we're putting this gentleman who was a very minor role of police officer later in the film. So he's getting kicked out of that role and put into this one, and she's going to be repurposed elsewhere. From our shot of the car, as someone's trying to open it from off screen with the clicker, we do get our shot here of Mr. Harris as he's walking through the parking garage, clicking his remote. As he's trying to unlock his car, Mr. Harris hears a noise. He looks, but there's nothing there. As Harris scans over the area, trying to figure out what could have made that noise, he all of a sudden finds himself face to face with Mr. Drake.
Good evening, Mr. Harris.
Oh, hello, Mr. Drake. You startled me. How are you liking your new home?
The home you procured for me in Malibu is satisfactory. I'm here in regards to the other property I inquired about.
I'm sorry, but the laws I would have to bend or break to secure that property for you are not something I am comfortable doing.
Money is no object, Mr. Harris. I want the property. Name your price.
It's not about money, Mr. Drake. Here, I've passed your request on to another realtor. He does not share the same. Let's say moral hesitation as me.
Well then. It seems our business is concluded.
From the fade out, we get to our title screen, and from there we roll into our credits. The credits for this film I really enjoy, as they're like these paintings, and then they get covered in blood as they're showing the different cast and crew members and all these different things as far as credits go. So they're very much a credit sequence that I would keep in the rewrite. From the credit sequence, we fade into a few establishing shots of the city, and more specifically we start zooming in from the more wider view of the city to a car as it's driving down the freeway, and eventually into a neighborhood, and from there up to a specific building. Real quick here, I'd like to point out that Dracula Reborn is very much doing a modern retelling, or trying to do a modern retelling of the classic Dracula story, more specifically more in line with the 92 Coppola film, where Mina is believed to be Dracula's lost love, and he's seeking her out and all the rest of that. We're not going to really be doing that, and I know in the film, the original film here, Dracula Reborn, they do reutilize some movies, characters, like Jonathan Harker and all those things. We're not going to do that. We're going to give them their own original names. This is very much still going to be a Dracula or Dracula-based story, but we're not doing that straight one-to-one or attempt of a one-to-one retelling. So after our car parks in front of this building, we get a look at our protagonist for the first time. And in the original, of course, this guy was named Jonathan Harker, but we're going to go with Jacob Stewart. So after Jacob gets out of his car, we see him look at his phone. And here we're going to get a quick look at our thumbs down guy again, because in the original version of this film, they had the time being 7:32. I think that's a little early, especially when talking about vampires and all that stuff. So we're going to make this 11:30. After looking at his phone and seeing that it's 11:30, Jacob unlocks the building, and we see him just wandering around, testing out the lights, which of course in this old kind of dilapidated building are not working properly. After testing the lights, we see Jacob turn around, and very much like Mr. Harris in that opening scene, he's startled by Mr. Drake. I should point out real quickly that Mr. Drake in the original film was called Vladimir Charcone, which was supposed to be an alias for Dracula or something. We're going with Drake because it's a little more on the nose, and it's totally fine because Charcone is just stupid. And you also will see that we have a thumbs down guy here. That's mostly because we're dealing with a character swap here. So this other guy, this bald gentleman, he's going to be moved to a different role later on. So this is just a swap situation. That's why we saw our thumbs down guy there for a second.
Good evening, Mr. Stewart. Thank you for meeting me at such a late hour.
Not a problem, Mr. Drake. I am quite flexible. However, it seems the lights are not working, and as such will make it very difficult to show you the property in full.
I anticipated this may be an issue and brought a light with me.
I see.
Shall we proceed?
This is where we're going to get another character role swap. The gentleman we saw before with Mr. Drake, who originally played his assistant, or the Renfield of this original story, is now going to be swapped out, and we're going to be putting in what was originally our Mina from this story, but now she'll be named Willa, and she is Mr. Drake's assistant instead. From the black that we faded to after Jacob started showing Drake around the warehouse or the building, the property, we cut into outside here where we do see Willa standing and waiting by the car. Then we cut over here to Mr. Drake and Jacob talking, discussing terms, discussing what they just saw in the warehouse. But then we get this car that pulls up playing very loud rap music. Here we get three gang members getting out of the car and approaching Jacob and Mr. Drake. Jacob's kind of cowering while Mr. Drake is not really all that intimidated. We see the gang member, the leader, threatening, telling them to get out of his territory. But we see Mr. Drake stand tall and kind of intimidate the gang leader, actually, with a little bit more of that, like we saw him with Mr. Harris, more of that vampire type intimidation. Taken back by Mr. Drake's presence or aura or whatever you want to call it, the gang members retreat and drive away.
I apologize for that, Mr. Drake. As I've disclosed before, there is a lot of gang activity in this area, and unfortunately the police tend to turn a blind eye.
I'm not worried about any of that, Mr. Stewart. I am aware of the questionable lengths you went to in securing this property, and as such I will be purchasing the property at double the asking price. I'm sure a substantial commission will help. Clear your conscience.
Thank you. We'll get the paperwork started first thing in the morning.
Here is all the information you will need for the transaction. Call me when the paperwork is ready for Mr. Drake to review.
From there we see Jacob take the papers from Willa and go to his car as they pull away. As they're pulling away, he kind of stands there almost in shock of what just happened with the large purchase price and so forth. And then we get it dissolved to this establishing of a house. As he stands in the doorway, we see Jacob get a few text alerts on his phone, and he exchanges back and forth with his wife, who has to work late. Once inside, Jacob greets his dog Bailey, and as he's setting down his takeout, he hears a noise that draws his attention across the room. Okay, right here we're going to go over a couple of actor swaps. On the left, you'll see the gal that we swapped out at the beginning in that parking garage scene. We're going to call her Liz, as she's going to be moving into this role, not quite Jacob's wife, but replacing the Mina character who we've already moved over to that assistant role for Drake, replacing her as the primary love interest as she and Jacob are having an affair. Replacing the original Mina character as Jacob's actual wife, the one that he's cheating on, is this gal Joan, who originally played just a family friend in the original film. So here we're having her play Jacob's wife, the one that he's cheating on. With our actor swaps out of the way, now we can kick back to where we had Jacob returning from work, from that showing. He greeted the dog, now he's in here and he's putting away his takeout, and he hears a noise from across the room.
How did the showing go?
The showing went great. What are you doing here? Joan just told me she had to work late, so I assumed that meant you did too.
Budget cuts are not allowing for overtime, so only the salaried employees had to stay. Which means we have the whole night to ourselves.
Well then, let's start with some wine to celebrate my big night. I love you, Liz.
I love you too, baby. So, this commission means you'll finally have the funds to leave Joan, right?
That's the plan, but it may take a while to get things set up, even after I get the commission money.
Damn it, Jacob, you promised. I want to be clear of her so we can stop sneaking around.
We will. You just have to give me time, hun. We will be free of Joan and have our life together soon, I promise.
Sure, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm heading out.
In the original film, we get a cut to back to the warehouse or the property that was just sold, and our gangsters returning and confronting the vampire and so forth. We're absolutely going to have that scene, but we're going to have it later. Hence our new guy here, Time Guy, telling us, yep, that's going to happen, just not right now. When we fade back in from that little confrontation that Liz and Jacob had, we fade up to Jacob waking up in the morning, now by himself because Liz already took off. And he hears outside the window his wife, Joan, her car showing up and her coming in the front door.
Good morning. How was work?
A chaotic nightmare, hence the drink.
Well, I have some news. That creepy guy that wanted to have a showing at 11:30 last night decided to buy the property at twice the asking price.
Why would he do that? Doesn't that send up any red flags for you?
He's grateful of the effort I put into making this happen and is making sure I get a good commission out of it.
Look, I'm just saying it's very odd for someone to pay more than they have to.
Why the hell do you have to piss all over my shit? This is cause to celebrate, not be cynical.
I'm sorry if I'm coming off wrong. It's been a long night. We can talk more after I get some proper sleep.
Whatever, get some rest, we'll talk later.
From there, we dissolve to this establishing shot of the exterior of Jacob's office. Then we cut to inside where he's just working on his laptop. Then he's handed some forms by his secretary. The forms are the paperwork he needs for the property that he's selling to Mr. Drake.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stewart. I trust this call bears good news.
It does. Yes, I have the paperwork on my desk. All that we need now is Mr. Drake's signature, and the property will be his.
Your efforts in expediting this process are appreciated. Mr. Drake can sign the papers later tonight.
I will bring the paperwork over as soon as I am done at the office for the day.
Everything is going to plan. Stewart will be here later, and I have a feeling he will not be alone.
Right after Jacob hangs up from the call, he gets a text from Joan telling him that she has to work late again. He says it's fine because he's going to see a client.
Make this quick, Jacob. You're lucky I'm even taking your call.
I know, and I'm sorry. I'm done with Joan this time, I swear. Mr. Drake is signing the papers tonight, and my commission will be in the bank within the week.
That's great for you, but where does it leave us?
Why don't you come with me to his Malibu estate? After he signs, we will get a nice room in town and celebrate.
That would be nice, but what about after? Joan is still your wife.
You're the one I want to be with, Liz. As soon as the money comes in, I will call my lawyer, Frank. He can deal with Joan while we start our life together.
All right, Jacob, but this is your last shot. It's me or her. No middle ground this time.
From the phone conversation, we dissolve to this establishing shot of the city. Then that cuts to Jacob's car arriving at Mr. Drake's Malibu estate. We watch the car park and then cut to the door where Willa greets Jacob and Liz and lets them in. From the shot of the closed door, we cut to the den where Jacob and Mr. Drake are sitting. Mr. Drake is going over the paperwork while Jacob's kind of fiddling with some things from the coffee table there, just kind of being impatient, like a child almost. From there, we cut to Liz, who is admiring a painting in another area of the house.
That piece is called Innocence Lost. It was painted in the late 1800s.
Was she a relative? The resemblance to you is uncanny.
Not that I am aware of. Just one of life's coincidences.
Everything looks in order, Mr. Stewart. You have done a commendable job and will be rewarded handsomely for it.
I will get this filed right away, and you'll have possession of the property by Monday.
If there is nothing else, Willa will show you out.
No, nothing else. It has been a pleasure doing business with you.
Alright, so real quick here, we're going to step aside and take a look. Here's this section of the original movie that Jonathan, or in our case Jacob, is on his way home from showing those papers and getting them signed and everything. And we have his stowaway, which they called this Quincy Morris in the original. This is just a whole section of the original movie that we're getting rid of, and as you can see here with our blue X, we're just getting rid of the Quincy Morris character from the original movie. He's just gone, period. Not repurposed, not nothing. He's just gone altogether from this rewrite. So coming out of our black from the previous scene before we stepped away there for a moment, we got this scene that we did our little time guide earlier that we said we were going to do it later. Well, now we're doing it later. We have our gangsters from the earlier scene showing back up at the property, kind of looking for some vengeance or some payback, and they do see Mr. Drake's car sitting there, so they come inside to check it out, to intimidate, to do whatever gangsters do. Once the gangsters are in the building, we see them kind of moving about, first together, and then they start getting split up, and one by one they get picked off pretty easily by Drake. In his full vampire form, Drake makes pretty short work of a couple of the gangsters, but as we come to this final gangster, the leader, we're seeing something a little different. He's hearing the noises, the clanging around him, wondering where his buddies are at. All of a sudden he sees a shadow in behind him, but it's not Drake. As the figure emerges from the shadows towards the gangster leader, he is terrified to see that it is Willa. And unlike Drake, who's in this monstrous form, Willa is in this cool, kind of just pale, very evil looking, but still very human type form, and our gangster's screams echo into the darkness.
Are you alright? You haven't said a word since we left Mr. Drake's estate.
Yeah, that painting just really freaked me out.
I'm sure the painting is just a coincidence. Besides, with the papers signed, we won't have to deal with them ever again.
I guess. How far to the hotel?
What the hell? I just got this car. Son of a bitch. That car salesman is getting a piece of my mind when we get back.
I am not getting any service. Should we try to walk?
Well, I don't think this road is used often at night, and it's probably not a great idea to try to walk in the dark. When it gets light out, I'll try to walk back to Mr. Drake's.
Well, in that case, I know something we can do in the meantime.
I like that idea.
From Jacob and Liz engaging in that kiss, we fade into this shadow, kind of a time jump of sorts, comes in a short while later, and we have all this shadow and this fog and the trees, and Jacob wakes up and he looks into the trees and he sees a projection of Willa's face, and he is hypnotized with this black in his eyes, and that kind of holds him in place. And then we cut over to Liz, who's sleeping on the ground. As Liz is sleeping, we get a cut to the trees, and now we're seeing Drake's face and appearing, and now we see his fangs, and then we get this cut to this kind of stylistic blood, which is supposed to symbolize maybe the internal of Liz as she is bitten, and then we see this fog kind of roll in, and it fades us to the next morning.
Man, I feel like I was hit by a ton of bricks. How did you sleep?
I don't feel so good, Jacob.
Holy shit. Does it hurt?
Yes, it burns.
I don't see any cars. I'll walk while you rest in the car.
Can you try the car again?
Alright, I can give it a shot. I have to take you to the hospital.
You can't. What will you tell Joan?
That's not important. Getting you help is all I care about. How's Liz?
Your girlfriend is fine, Jacob.
Joan, I was going to tell you.
There's nothing to tell, especially since I already knew you were cheating. I just didn't know with who.
Well, if you knew, why didn't you say anything?
I'd rather table this for a more appropriate time. Liz has lost a lot of blood and will need to stay in critical care until the transfusions we gave her take full effect.
How could she lose that much blood from those 2 little bites?
I'm not sure, but all our tests indicate those bites as the source of her blood loss. She's asleep right now, but you can look in on her if you'd like. Room 212.
Well, for what it's worth, thanks for treating her.
Treating those in need is my job, Jacob. While you wait for Liz to recover, I suggest you go home and pack your things.
Don't worry, I'll be out by the end of the day.
From there we fade to black, and then fade back in on this establishing shot of Jacob and Joan's house. Inside, Jacob is doing some work, more determined than ever now to make sure he gets these papers filed so that he can get the money, the commission that will set him free from Joan, especially now that the cat's out of the bag and he's been caught and basically kicked out by Joan. From there we get an establishing shot of the hospital again, and then cut to a computer screen that has Liz's blood results or test results, and Joan's going over them before she gets a visitor.
Good evening, Dr. Stewart. I was wondering if I might have a word about one of your patients.
Good evening. Please, have a seat. What patient are you inquiring about?
Elizabeth West. I understand she was admitted with a substantial amount of blood loss with exit points too small to account for the volume of loss.
I appreciate the concern for my patient, but I don't even know who you are or what, if any, credentials you have.
My name is Alex Hill. I am a new professor at Caltech. I encountered a similar case at my old job in the United Kingdom. After exhaustive research, I was able to develop this serum. The key ingredient is sourced from a plant called wolfsbane. The serum was quite effective in expediting my subject's recovery as well as preventing further blood loss. With your permission, I would like to administer the serum to Miss West.
Interesting. However, I can't just take your word for it and let you inject my patient with an untested serum.
I do not agree with your choice, but it is yours to make. Have a good evening, Dr. Stewart.
In the past, we've had both complete hindsight rewrites and ones that were part 1s and part 2s. I think it plays better when we split it up, around a half hour-ish each. So if that means we do a part 1, part 2, that's fine. So right here, we're going to cut off for our part 1 of Dracula Reborn and conclude in a part 2 in another video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It really helps us out, and you can even click the notification bell, and that'll let you know when we have new videos coming up, like our future part 2 for Hindsight Rewrite or any of our other videos or films. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you next time on Hindsight Rewrites.